All right, let's talk about Friedrich Nietzsche. I know, the name alone can sound pretty intimidating, right? But what if I told you that hidden inside all of his dense, complex philosophy is a seriously practical toolkit? A set of ideas you can actually use to build a more powerful, more authentic life. Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
So, it really all comes down to this one single piercing question. Are you actively living your life, or are you just reacting to it? I mean, really think about that for a second. Are you the one writing the story of your day, or are you just a character responding to whatever pops up? You know, the emails, the notifications, the demands of other people. How you answer that, well, that changes everything.
So what does a reactive life even look like? For Nietzsche, it's way more than just being disorganized or busy. He saw it as a deep psychological trap. He called it the resentment trap, and he believed it was the secret engine behind a whole system of values that's designed to do one thing: drain our power and keep us small.
And here's how he breaks it down. He saw these two totally different ways of looking at the world. On one side, you've got what he called master morality. This way of thinking comes from a place of strength. It looks inward, it affirms itself, and it says, this is good because I am good. Simple, right? But then there's slave morality. This one starts from the outside. It needs an enemy. It looks at the strong, the powerful, and its very first creative act is to declare them evil. And only after it has something to hate does it turn around and define itself as good by being the opposite. It's a complete flip.
The engine that drives this entire system is a concept Nietzsche called resentment. Now, this is not just being angry or upset. Think of it more like a simmering, deep-seated poison that's born from feeling powerless. Instead of using your frustration to, improve yourself or change your situation, resentment turns all that energy inward. It performs this kind of psychological judo move, twisting values around until weakness gets relabeled as goodness and strength gets relabeled as evil. It's the ultimate energy leak.
So, if resentment is the trap, how in the world do we get out? Well, Nietzsche says the key isn't to just suppress all our frustrations. The key is to tap into a much deeper, more fundamental drive that we all have. A drive that, if you can harness it, becomes the perfect antidote to living that reactive life.
And this leads us to one of his most famous and maybe most misunderstood ideas. He asks, what is good? And his answer is all that heightens the feeling of power in man, the will to power, power itself. Now hold on, when you hear that word power, I know what you're thinking. Politics, domination, controlling people. We have to throw that idea right out the window.
And let's be absolutely crystal clear on this. The will to power is not about an external fight to dominate other people. Not even close. It is an internal battle. It's the fundamental human drive to grow, to expand your capabilities, to create, and to overcome. The only territory you're meant to conquer is your own limitations, your own fears, your own bad habits.
And we can see this drive playing out in three really key areas of life. First, there's self-overcoming. That's that feeling of pushing past your own limits, whether it's in the gym or learning a new skill. Then there's creative expression, taking an idea that's in your head and imposing your vision on the world to make it real. And finally, the ultimate expression of this drive, value creation. This is the power to stop just accepting the values you've been handed and to start forging your own.
So if we actually manage to do this, if we truly harness this will to power, where does it all lead? What's the goal we should be striving for? Nietzsche gives this ideal a name, and it's another one that gets wildly misunderstood, the Übermensch, or the Overman.
And this is the core challenge he throws down for every single one of us. He said, man is something that shall be overcome. What have you done to overcome him? He saw humanity not as some finished product, but as a bridge to something greater. And the question he's asking you personally is, are you actively working on building that bridge?
And just to be super clear, the Übermensch is not some biological superhero in a cape. It's a blueprint for psychological mastery. It's a person who has become the complete author of their own life, someone who doesn't need external rules or validation because they've built their own moral compass from the inside out.
Nietzsche actually mapped out this journey in a beautiful little story he called the three metamorphoses. First, he says, your spirit has to become a camel. It has to learn how to bear weight, to learn discipline and duty. Then the spirit becomes a lion. It has to learn to rebel, to say no to old values and fight to create its own freedom. But that's not the end goal. The final transformation is to become a child, to be able to play, to create new things with joy, and to say a wholehearted I am to your own unique existence.
Now, a core practice for this kind of self-authored person is amor fati, a Latin phrase meaning the love of one's fate.
And this is radical stuff. It's not just about tolerating your life, struggles and all, it's about actively willing it to be exactly as it is. It's about looking at every failure, every heartbreak, every obstacle, and seeing it as the absolutely necessary raw material that was needed to forge you into who you are.
Okay, we've gone through the problem, the resentment trap. We've identified the core drive, the will to power, and we've seen the ideal, the Übermensch. Now let's get down to brass tacks. How do we turn all this philosophy into a practical toolkit that you can start using today? Action number 1, channel your frustration creatively. The next time you feel that sting of resentment or anger, don't just let it fester. Intercept it. Stop and ask yourself, okay, what can I build with this fire? Redirect that heat. Turn it into fuel for a workout, for a creative project, for learning a new skill. Start pursuing difficulty on purpose, because you know that strength and growth only ever happen under resistance. Number 2, start practicing amor fati. The next time you face a setback, try this mental reframe. Instead of asking, why me? Ask, how is this necessary? What does this make possible? This isn't about toxic positivity. It's about strategically finding the opportunity in the obstacle. And at the same time, start to reduce your dependence on what other people think. Just for today, make one small decision based purely on what you believe is right, not on who might approve. And finally, action number 3. Diagnose your own resentment with brutal honesty. Do a quick mental audit. How much of your headspace is currently being rented out to old grievances and replying past hurts? All of that is energy being stolen from your future. When adversity hits, your job is to shift from telling the story of victimhood to asking the only question that matters. What is my next move? And be ruthless in spotting where you've relabeled your weaknesses as virtues, calling your fear prudence or your laziness patience. So you can see the thread that connects this entire toolkit, right? It all boils down to one single powerful idea: radical responsibility. It is the conscious, deliberate choice to stop being a character in someone else's story and to finally pick up the pen and become the author of your own. Ultimately, what Nietzsche is offering us is an invitation. It's an invitation to shift your entire life's orientation, from a life that's defined by what you hate, what you fear, and what has wronged you, to a life defined by what you love, what you create, and what you are striving with every fiber of your being to become.